All right, let's get started. Today we are going to be making some clothes for a paper doll. Now this paper doll is a project I've been working on with one of my students for a while now. We worked on getting the person just the way we wanted her to be, and now we need to make sure that all of her clothes fit, and we're going to be doing that by tracing. Now I am going to be using a light box. This is just a tabletop light box. You can also use a window and tape your paper doll up onto the window to make this work, but you just need to make sure it's bright outside. You can't do this at night if you're using the window method. And then I'm going to put my paper doll original down on the light box, and then I'm going to cover her up with another piece of paper. I'm just using computer paper right now. We're going to be making copies of this onto cardstock later. And then I'm going to turn on my light box. I have 3 different settings on this one. So I have a dim setting, and then I have a medium setting and a bright setting. I'm going to be using the bright setting so it's easy to see the lines through the paper. And then I'm just going to take a pencil and I'm going to start sketching some clothes over this paper doll. I'm using a fairly light pencil. This one is a 4H. So let's see if we can see the lines here. So I'm going to start, let's do a t-shirt and a pair of pants for this one. So instead of tracing right on the line, I'm tracing just a little bit above the line because that'll show how thick her shirt is. I'll trace along that line, and then I'm going to make a little curved line to connect them to make the edge of her shirt. Maybe a line to show where the seam is. And then when I reach her hand here, I'm going to trace around her hand because I don't want to cover it up. Or you can choose to go over her hand and then just make her hand be behind the t-shirt as well. I'm going to have it so the hand shows through. You know what? Let's do it the other way so you can see how that works. I'm going to get an eraser here. I'm going to use my kneaded eraser. I think that'll be work a little better with this. Just erase that. I'll have it go over the hand. It's a little less complicated that way. Around at her hips. Just make a curve for the end of the t-shirt. And I won't make the line go all the way up to her shoulder. I'll stop about there. And I'll get her other sleeve in there. That one's a little longer than the other one. I'll erase that. Remembering to go just a little above that line. I'll just do a rounded neck like that. Make it a little higher to make sure that we don't see any of our underwear picking through when we put this on our paper doll. Don't worry if you make little mistakes. We're going to be going over this with a marker. And then we'll trace her legs, again going a little further out than her legs. When I get to her knee, I'm going to put a few little bumps to be bunches. Maybe not so many. Just a little bunch right there. Okay. A little wider than her ankles. Maybe add some of the lines from the knee in there. Alright, and I can turn off the light and you can see there is her t-shirt. And I can add a few more details into it now. Maybe erase that one line a bit more, I'll use my clicky eraser here. You can also just use any eraser. I suggest a white eraser when you're erasing on paper, because sometimes pink erasers or colored erasers will make it change the paper's color, and you don't want that. Lightly sketch in some of the seams there, and then we can add a design to her t-shirt. Erase a little bit more of this sleeve here that's underneath. There we go. Let's see, what kind of pattern would we want to do on that? I'm just going to add a seam down here while I'm thinking about that. Let's do maybe just a flower. You can do whatever design you want. And there we go. And then what I'll do is I'll take this off the light box and make sure that I don't have my paper doll underneath. So the paper doll's not underneath anymore. And I will go ahead, let's just do a little adjustments there. And then I'm going to take this. I'm looking at it, and I think I want to make this come out a little bit more. So it looks like more of a relaxed cut on her t-shirt there. It's not looking like it's hanging the way I would want it to. There we go. Now that I have it a bit more fine-tuned, I'm going to add some tabs. You want them to be as close to the neckline on the shoulders as you can and not go over the curve of the shoulders. A tab right here, over here. And then if you look at her legs, you can see that the bottom part of her legs is in the paper doll stand. So I'm going to want to make sure to just put the tabs on the top part of her legs on these pants. I'm going to add some pockets to her jeans. I'm going to color these in to look like jeans, so I'll just add some pockets. There we go. We have some clothes for our paper doll. Alright, now that all the details are done with my clothes and I have the tabs on it, I'm going to take a fine tipped marker and I'm going to just trace over my pencil lines. So now that I've gone over my lines, I'm going to come back in with an eraser. I'm going to use my kneaded eraser so it doesn't tear up my paper. And I'm going to just erase all of my pencil lines. Just going to make this one line a little darker. Alright, and there is the finished set of clothes for my paper doll. Now let's take a look at the original paper doll again. So I have this paper doll and she's drawn on this side of my paper and I have all this blank space. Now let's say I don't want to take this on my computer and then transfer this onto the paper because I don't want to deal with making everything match up again. I would want to make a template of my paper doll by hand and then just trace that to make some clothes on this side of the paper. So let me show you how to do that. I'm going to get my light table again, put my paper doll down, get some paper, line it up on top, and then I'm going to turn my light table on to the brightest setting again. Again, you could also use a window. I'm just going to trace right over the lines. I'm going to use a pencil so it doesn't bleed through. I'm going to trace my paper doll around the arm, around her body. I'm not going to do the hands and the feet because I'm not going to be putting those in the clothes. So I just basically need to know her neck, her arms, torso, and legs. There you can see the parts that I traced on my paper doll. I didn't have to do the detail in her hands or her head because that's not going to be part of her outlines for her clothes. If you do want to do hats, you can go ahead and trace the head, but I'm not planning on doing any hats on this page. So let's see if I need to add marker or if that's going to be dark enough. Oh, that should be dark enough to trace with. So then I'll just line that up on the paper. I'm going to start from the left-hand side since I'm right-handed. Excuse me. I don't want to smudge anything, so I'm going to start on the left side of my paper. Oh, excuse me. And let's draw a dress. Let's do a little cap sleeve dress. Do a square neck on this one. Do this one a little more form-fitting. Let's do a little A-line dress. Make the waist right here above her belly button. Have the lines come out a bit, and then when it gets to about here, that's when the fabric will be heavy enough to drop down like that. We'll go just past her knees. Let's do a ruffle. So we'll do kind of a little curve here. Here, I'm going to change where that ruffle goes. By remembering where her knees are going to affect the ruffles. So we'll have a little ruffle be right over this knee. And another ruffle over this knee. Like that. And another bow right there. Okay. And copy that. And there is my drawing of her dress. I'm going to just make her neckline a little more angled. Move my light table out from underneath. Maybe I'll add a little waistband here. The seam come up like I did on that other sleeve. There we go. I can even add a pattern if I want. I'm going to change this ruffle a little bit. I think this one came up a little too high. There we go. So now what I'm going to need to add are my tabs. So I'll do my tab on this arm here. Right here. Coming off from her waist. On both sides. One right here. And over here. And that should be good. All right. Let's do some other things. Let's see, let's add a handbag. So I'm going to get my light table so I can see this a little better. And above that dress, I'm going to have her arm right there, and I'm just going to design a little handbag to go with it. So I'll design it so it'll fit in her the crook of her arm right there by making a little line right there, touching this side of her arm to this side. And this won't need any tabs because I'll just be able to cut out the middle part and it'll fit in. Make the top a little bit thicker so it won't tear. There we go. And I shouldn't need the light table anymore. Already got the measurements for the handbag's top. And then I'll just do a little square handbag. Maybe rectangle handbag, I mean. There's a little triangle flap, maybe a little button. There, that's pretty cute. And then I can just go over these with my pen, my marker. Then once I've done that, I'll come back in with my eraser, just like on the other page. There we go. I think I'm going to transfer that other outfit onto this page too. Alright, there we go. I transferred it exactly the same as the original, but if you have a style that you end up making that you like, you could trace it and then maybe change the pattern on the shirt so it's not a flower. You could put something else on there, or you can add a pattern to the pants or to the dress. You can always trace something that you like and remake it a little bit later. Now let's see if we can do something else fun with this. Maybe let's do some winter clothes. These are both kind of springy. Let's get her some winter clothes. So we'll get my light table and that template I made. Put my light table on the brightest setting. There we go. Let's make a long sleeve shirt with some jackets. Let's do something with a jacket. So for a jacket, I'm going to come out and the shoulders are going to be a little stiffer because it's thicker fabric. It's going to be further out from her original line. I'll do a big cuff on the end of this, and I'll have her hand behind her waist. Then there are going to be some wrinkles where the thicker fabric folds on her elbow there. Maybe even a little under here. There we go. Let's make it a kind of longer coat. Maybe give it a collar, doing a line diagonal to her neck here, and then a rectangle. Like that. Her other collar will be like that. Okay. Again, remembering on the sleeves to make this a little thicker because it's a coat. Put those wrinkles where the elbow would be. It's okay if you need to erase some pencil lines later. That's why we're doing this in pencil first. Let's give her a Ruffly shirt. Just doing some wavy lines between the two sides of her jacket. We'll have her in some pants here. Maybe more like slacks, so a little looser than those kind of skinny jeans we did before. I don't think I'll do a pleat in that. And then I will leave that part off later. And let's add some pockets. All right. Let's see how that turned out. Pretty good. Just fine-tune some of the details. Maybe erase some parts we didn't like so much. Add a few lines into this ruffly shirt so it looks a little bit more ruffly. Maybe put a hem up there, a line where the hemline would be. Fill out the hemlines here. Maybe I'll add a few buttons. That's a few too many buttons. That's why we're doing this in pencil first. Let's just have it be a zipper. I think the buttons are just too distracting. I'm going to make it a little bit more, less form-fitting along the back. Because jackets are usually heavier fabric and they don't usually form-fit as much as other clothes. Like that. Alright, I think that turned out pretty good. I'll just go over it with my pen. I forgot to put the tabs on here, so let's add them now. Then I'll come in with my eraser and erase all the pencil lines. Alright, now that your paper doll has some clothes and they are all outlined with your marker and you have these nice dark black lines, you can go ahead and make as many photocopies of this as you would want. I definitely recommend making at least a few. That way when you color it in, you can experiment, and if you make a mistake, you'll have another copy that you can just pull out and try something new. And I hope you had fun making this with me.